I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. I think I can make it now. The pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, nothing but blue I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Oh, what a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Oh, the heart is a balloon, shoots up through the stony ground. There's no room, no space to rent in this town. You're out of luck, and the reason that you had to care, the traffic is stuck, and you're not moving anywhere. You thought you found a friend to take you out of this place, someone you could lend a hand in return for grace. It's a beautiful day. The sky falls, you feel like it's a beautiful day. So let it get away on the road. But you got no destination in the mind. In the maze of her imagination, your love is down. Even if that doesn't ring true, you've been all over, and it's been all over you. It's a beautiful day. So let it get away. It's a beautiful day. Touch me, take me to that other place. Teach me, I See the world in green and blue. See China right in front of you. See the canyons broken by cloud. See the tuna fleets clearing the sea out. See the bedroom fires at night. See the oil fields at first light. And see the bird with a leaf in her mouth. After the flood, all the colors came out. It was a beautiful day. Don't let it get away. Beautiful day. Touch me. Take me to that other place. Release me. I know I'm not a hopeless case. What you don't have, you don't need it now. What you don't know, you can feel it somehow. What you don't have, you don't need it now. Don't need it now. It was a beautiful day. I can't stand to fly. I'm not that naive. I'm just.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Jeannie Stone, Superintendent of the Richardson Independent School District and a member of the American Heart Association Southwest Region Board of Directors. We're so glad you could all join us today to talk about the urgent need for all Texas schools to become tobacco-free.
Hey, Dr. Stone, and I'm Dr. Art Cavazos, retired superintendent of Harlingen CISD. I am also a board member of the Heart Association Southwest Region. We're proud to stand with AHA to launch the Tobacco Free Schools Initiative to help school districts respond to the youth tobacco and vaping epidemic and to set a path to eradicate tobacco and nicotine addiction in the U.S. for good.
As superintendent of a large school district, I take great pride in celebrating the accomplishments of my schools, faculty, and all of our students. But today, I'm lamenting the imminent health concerns that a whole new generation of teenagers will face as I see them fall victim, as we all see them fall victim to the e-cigarette industry. Vaping is not contained to any specific group, and it's a problem encompassing our schools across the entire nation. Tobacco companies have identified their target, and it's America's teens and preteens. We know that e-cigarettes are now the most used tobacco product by youth and adolescents. Many students report that they use e-cigarettes to self-medicate and to manage stress. And nearly half have said that they want to quit. The U.S. Surgeon General warns that nicotine exposure during adolescence can harm brain development and impact learning, memory, and attention. Perhaps, though, the greatest consequence is the impending tobacco addiction and failing health of this generation. For decades, the American Heart Association and others have been advocating for laws to curb tobacco use among teens and kids, and we were winning the battle. However, the sad evolution of vaping has clearly thwarted the significant progress progress that we made with teens and smoking over the last decade. In 2020, more than 3.6 million teens were e-cigarette users. That's a sad statistic, right? And so in 2020, again, let me say it again, more than 3.6 million teens were e-cigarette users, which equated to 1 in 5 high school students. New data released from the CDC just last week indicates a decline in incidence in vaping that notes progress. But we know these surveys were done when school was online for most of our students and access was limited. We also hear from you that vaping remains a significant issue. Vaping is not limited to high schools. It is a growing problem in middle schools where 5% of our students report vaping.
In 2012 and 2013, tobacco companies began investing heavily in e-cigarettes, both in the UK and US. Juul was introduced in 2015, and by 2019, Juul held more than half of the US market of e-cigarettes. The FDA gained authority to regulate e-cigarettes as tobacco products, but the government agency was slow to act. The first case of E-valley lung injury associated with vaping were identified just 2 years ago. Symptoms include a cough, shortness of breath, or chest pain, but can also include gastrointestinal symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, and stomach pain. In April 2021, FDA announced its plans to propose tobacco product standards within the next year to ban methanol as a characterizing flavor in cigarettes and ban all characterizing flavors, including methanol in cigars. The fight against big tobacco is constantly changing in a way to circumvent the laws. Big tobacco is now pushing disposable e-cigarettes that are intended to be used once and thrown away. Recently, one manufacturer announced that it is now using synthetic nicotine, and so it believes that it should be exempt from some of the federal, state, and local laws regarding e-cigarettes and other tobacco products. We must be vigilant. We must constantly monitor what the tobacco industry is doing, and we have to ensure that we have the policy protections in place, especially for our youths. The American Heart Association needs school administrators like us to stand up for our kids to prevent another generation from becoming addicted to nicotine. And the American Heart Association wants to be by your side to help you do it.
You know, vaping among teens and middle schoolers is a serious problem, with 2 million high school and middle school students reporting that they are vaping. These kids are getting hooked on nicotine using nicotine salts and a new form of drug delivery device through peer and celebrity use, sleek packaging, attractive flavors, and marketing that is targeting directly toward them. It's important to underscore that more kids are using these products and they're using them more often, indicating that more youth are becoming addicted. E-cigarettes are now the most used tobacco products by youth and adolescents. Not only are kids using cigarettes, but they are using them more frequently. 500,000 teens report vaping every single day. From 2019 to 2021, disposable e-cigarettes use increased dramatically. Today, more than half of all teens who vape are using disposable produced e-cigarettes. Disposable e-cigarettes that are immune to the federal regulation regarding flavored e-liquids. We must address this loophole, y'all, and remove all flavored e-liquids and other flavored tobacco products from the marketplace. We must be committed. We must come together. And so now I'm pleased to introduce another one of our partners who is joining with us in this fight, and that is our beloved PTA. And representing the president of the Texas PTA is our next presenter, Susie Kennan.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stone. Good afternoon. I was so honored when asked to speak today, representing the hundreds of thousands of Texans who are a part of PTA across the state. In PTA, we are parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, educators, and school staff. We truly represent the village that helps to raise every child in Texas public schools. So our network of volunteers runs deep through the very roots of our communities. In Texas, PTA is a big part of the community. So I thank the American Heart Association for welcoming Texas PTA to this very important conversation. We are invested in nurturing the whole child. Simply put, what happens to our students on and off campus. In order for our children to thrive in school, they must be healthy and supported in all aspects of their lives. Vaping is a poison, quite literally, that has entered our homes and schools with a vengeance. And unlike its more foul-smelling cousin, the cigarette, it has managed to sneak under the radar, even rearing its ugly head in classrooms and over Zoom. And an audacious menace that keeps growing in popularity among young people. Statistics make teen vaping feel like an insurmountable problem, but I sincerely believe that nothing is beyond reach. Like the men and women speaking today, Texas PTA is committed to changing these statistics. The companies that put greed above the health of our kids must be stopped from their predatory methods. And rather than face harsh discipline for falling victim to the allure of vaping, students must be helped. Addiction is hard enough for adults to overcome. Can you imagine what that must feel like for an 8th grader? So for years, Texas PTA has been working to put up barriers between smoking and school-aged children. During the 86th legislative session, we were a big proponent of raising the age of tobacco products from 18 to 21. Though a high school sophomore couldn't legally purchase cigarettes, another older student in the same building could bring tobacco on campus, making something illegal for most students widely available. During that session, we gave public testimony arguing why raising the age was a critical speed bump in the fight against teen smoking. And during the 87th legislative session, Texas PTA once again made vaping a top legislative priority. We worked to ban flavors that target kids. While there was a partial federal flavor ban, some of the most popular products like Puff Bar are still available in a multitude of flavors for just $9 to $20. As I like to say, cotton candy belongs at the carnival or the State Fair of Texas, but not in a vape pen. We also worked to regulate the sale of e-cigarette products and pursued a state excise tax. Vaping is a dangerous and addictive habit and merits a tax at parity with traditional tobacco. Though this session was wildly different than any year before it, Texas PTA still showed up at the Capitol for meetings and testimony. We stayed the course and worked to ensure that real change came out of this session. We know that there is still so much work to be done. We are happy that an organization like American Heart Association is fighting the good fight, and we know this firsthand. Texas PTA partnered with the American Heart Association for our first ever live stream event at the Capitol, Straight Talk, a matter of life and breath. We invited a panel of students, parents, administrators, and doctors to share their stories and discuss what can be done about the vaping epidemic. The event was moderated by American Heart Association's Executive Vice President, Tanya Edwards, and the Richardson ISD Superintendent, who you met just a few minutes ago, Dr. Jeannie Stone, was a panelist. This virtual event, before virtual became our way of life, reached the furthest corners of the state, being watched nearly 16,000 times. It was an incredible day, and the response we received clearly showed that teen vaping is an issue everywhere, regardless of economy, demographics, and where a town is located on the map. Vaping is a problem for all school districts. This event was intended as a springboard to enact change, and the American Heart Association is reinforcing those efforts with tobacco-free Texas schools. Our PTAs are ready and willing to do whatever we can to support these policies that are adopted in our school districts. One of our founding principles is parent education, and we can play a vital role in helping to make sure parents and guardians have all the information and tools they need to help in this fight. Yes, this is a scary situation, but my advice to vaping companies: never underestimate the power of community. When the welfare of our kids is at stake, there is no distance we won't go. And thankfully, we are doing this together. Texas PTA is proud to be partnering with the American Heart Association to bring an end to teen vaping, but we can't go it alone. We invite everyone today to help. And the biggest things that you can do are get involved and get informed. Take advantage of all the resources the American Heart Association has to offer online and in your communities. And don't forget, there is strength in numbers. Texas PTA will continue to be vocal to stop companies from selling flavors that are blatantly marketed to our kids. But our voice at the Capitol is only as strong as our statewide membership. If you are not a PTA member, please consider joining PTA in your community. You don't have to be a parent to join. All you have to do is care about our students and schools. Your single membership will amplify our thunderous voice and tell lawmakers change must happen, and it must happen now. And we've made it really easy. You can just go to joinpta.org. The hard work is underway, and the American Heart Association and Texas PTA need as many people as possible to join in. Together, we will extinguish teen vaping. Thank you.
Susie, I love your enthusiasm, and you're doing an incredible job, and thank you for what you do. I can tell you that the tobacco industry needs to be nervous when we activate all our parents and all the mothers out there. And so thank you, Susie, for what you do every day. Give my regards to your CEO there, and take care of yourself. We need you in this fight. So thank you so much again from AHA. We're grateful to have you as part of our partnership. Here to tell us more about American Heart Association's Tobacco-Free Schools framework is Dr. Jeffrey Willett, Vice President of Integrated Tobacco Strategies, American Heart Association. Welcome, Jeffrey.
You bet. Thanks so much. Very happy to be here, and thanks for everyone for joining today. Always a tough spot to follow Susie Kennan in a presentation, but I'll do my best here. First of all, we believe that youth are the victims of the tobacco industry, the industry that has developed innovative new products that are highly appealing to young people. And our federal, state, and local governments so far have failed to protect kids. And really, our schools are also the victims. You know, you are forced to deal with a situation that none of us wanted, none of us asked for. Schools are the front lines of the youth vaping epidemic. So you are uniquely impacted by this issue. But on the flip side, you're also uniquely positioned to make a huge positive impact on the lives of millions of students across the United States. So with that in mind, the American Heart Association worked to develop our Tobacco-Free Schools Toolkit and Initiative, all of which are designed to help support you in addressing the youth vaping epidemic in a way that will provide an appropriate disciplinary response to the issue that puts youth on a path to health. So our toolkit outlines policy and code of conduct language that you can use to address the issue. It provides recommendations for evidence-based prevention, cessation, and alternative to suspension programs that you can implement as well. And so I just wanted to highlight the toolkit and speak a little bit more about the work that the American Heart Association is doing. The toolkit is available at heart.org/anti-vaping. Next slide, please. Now, our model tobacco-free school framework includes 5 components. We believe these 5 things are key to establishing a tobacco-free school district that will address the issue in a supportive way for your students. First, the definition of tobacco product should ensure that e-cigarettes and all the emerging tobacco products that the industry is working on will be covered by your policy. In 2 years, the market leader for e-cigarette use among youth has switched from Juul 2019, where roughly 70% of young people were using Juul, to Puff Bar today. We've talked about the fact that disposable use has increased. So we need to set our definitions to be responsive to what the tobacco industry is likely to introduce to the marketplace in the future, as well as addressing the products today. Prohibitions of use. We recommend prohibiting use by all students, staff, and visitors on all school grounds and at all school-sponsored events. And industry influence. We want to help ensure that our district-wide policies prevent the use of tobacco industry-sponsored prevention programs or tobacco industry funding for school districts. As recently as 2019, Juul was sending representatives into schools across the United States to provide a prevention program during which the Juul representatives talked about how healthy and safe Juul products were. We obviously can't have that in our school system. And then finally, discipline should be designed to keep students engaged in education, to address the issue while keeping students engaged in education. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the toolkit provides recommendations for policy and code of conduct language. Really, for each of those 5 components, the toolkit provides a rationale why it's important, identifies where in your policies or code of conduct you could address this issue, and provides some sample language that you can use if you need some inspiration regarding specific language to address each of the components. Next slide. And as I mentioned, the toolkit also identifies those evidence-based programs that we know are effective in helping prevent young people from using and helping people quit. We've identified programs from national leaders like the Truth Initiative and the American Lung Association that are designed to be implemented with young people, many of which were designed specifically to be implemented in school systems as alternatives to suspension. So we encourage you to review toolkit and reach out to us for any additional help. Next slide, please. So why a supportive approach? And we've talked about this a little bit before, but first we want to ensure that youth are not further victimized by the tobacco industry. We know that it's critically important to keep students in the classroom. I think especially as we're coming out of a year where students were distance learning, and now that we're back in the classroom, that time is even more precious than ever. So keeping students in the classroom. We also know that there are negative educational impacts of exclusionary discipline. We know that there are negative educational outcomes associated with student suspension and expulsion. So if there's an alternative that will keep students in the classroom, we're strongly encouraging you to pursue that. Next slide. We also know that there are underlying mental health issues that are related to student tobacco use, vaping, and the use of other substances. This is an incredibly stressful time for young people. I can't imagine the issues that each of you is dealing with on a daily basis with your students, with the COVID environment, with the stresses that they're under. We know that many youth are self-medicating for stress using vaping devices. So again, you are uniquely positioned to identify those young people who are using tobacco products and vaping, and also uniquely positioned to provide support for them. Suspension or expulsion that removes kids from the school environment may actually exacerbate their use of these products. And then next slide. As Jeannie mentioned, many students want to quit. I mean, this is true for both adult tobacco users and youth tobacco users. Many of them want to quit. So if we could take the opportunity, use this as a learning opportunity, as a moment in time to help students, put them on a path to quitting successfully, it will definitely be important. And many of your students would be welcoming this help. Next slide, please. So finally, the American Heart Association is here to help. In addition to our toolkit, we are happy to work with you directly. If you're considering any changes to your policies or your code of conduct, if you have questions about programs that you could implement instead of, as alternative disciplinary approaches, we are happy to work alongside you to help figure that out. The American Heart Association has also launched a youth engagement program called Tobacco Endgame. Young people can go to tobaccoendgame.org and sign up to part of the movement leading to a tobacco endgame. And on that website, we have opportunities for young people to share their stories about how tobacco use or vaping has impacted them and their families. So again, we're definitely here to help you. Please reach out. Next slide, please. All right, that's my final slide. So thanks everyone so much.
Hey, Jeffrey. So I was a little nervous that you were coming after Susie. I have to admit, but you held your own. I'm
Tough act to
super
follow.
impressed.
Very tough act to follow.
But let me tell you, your toolkit, all the resources that you shared today, incredible. And as you know, former superintendent, you will know that we have so many things going on at the same time, but you all have made it so user friendly. So thank you for what you do, and you and Susie right at each other, right, just like that. So, but I won't
Thanks
say
so
who
much.
I give it to. So, thank you, Dr. Willett. I'm happy now to turn the program to Dr. Jeremy Lyon, former superintendent for Frisco ISD. Dr. Lyon was the first superintendent to sit on the AHA's regional board and has been an advocate for AHA on student health for many years. And it was because of Dr. Lyon that I joined American Heart Association. So thank you, thank you, thank you, and it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cavazos, and please say hello to your brother for me, a dear friend. Hello, everyone. I'd like to applaud all the efforts that the American Heart Association has put into building this model policy and toolkit and the recommendations for the code of conduct. And my role here today is to really kind of talk about the mechanics of this because we need to pivot from the big idea that we've got to move the needle more towards cessation and the end game and helping our children and our youth quit and get past this vaping and e-cigarette and tobacco issue completely. But in order to do that, we've got to act locally, district by district. And that is where there are some issues regarding how do we do that. I was looking at the attendee list today, and I know that we have a lot of attendees who aren't in the superintendent's chair, but they are responsible for health and wellness throughout their school district and in their schools. And so you're positioned beautifully to take this work and to try to put it into action in your local district. So let me talk a little bit. I've watched the history of this whole thing, and it's really fascinating because after a career in public education, you can see kind of patterns and trends. And what happened with this one is for sure that it caught educators by surprise. All of a sudden we looked up and our bathrooms were being turned into vaping lounges and kids were doing things in classrooms that we had never seen before regarding hoodies and, little vape pens. And the reaction by administrators and teachers and parents was predictable. It was, this has got to stop. We have to put in these fairly draconian practices to make sure that the message is loud and clear. We're not going to tolerate this. Okay, so we get that, and that's what we did. And we talked to administrators across the country who have drawers, if not filing cabinets, full of devices that they had confiscated, but persistently, it didn't seem to get at the issue. Kids don't respond to just the punishment aspect of it. We got to dig a little deeper. So then what happened is that we started talking about it as educators across the country. And then at about that time, a couple of years ago, we did have the very significant event of the EVALI, where all of a sudden there were some very serious and puzzling things happening to kids and to adults regarding the health of their lungs and their medical conditions. So that's when everybody said, wow, this is really serious and we got to get a handle on it. So from that point, the American Heart Association has really taken the leadership role in trying to, how do we frame this? How do we move this back into this position that AHA was winning the battle against tobacco, cigarettes, and then all of a sudden this thing comes along. And Dr. Willett mentioned how the needle moves on this. The devices are different by the month, and there's different concoctions that they use. But this we know, most kids want to quit. They don't want to be hooked on this. All parents, who in their right mind would want their child to have an addiction at age 13 to 17, if not even younger, and certainly older than that. So I think we're all on the same page that we'd like to get to the bottom of this. So let's get started, right? Right now, you've got the Chapter 37 Texas Education Code that very clearly and fairly comprehensively prohibits the use of tobacco and e-cigarette devices across the board, extracurricular events, school-sponsored events off district grounds, in school, and that's for all students. But what the education code leaves completely up to the local level is what the range of disciplinary actions are, including, your typical ones, ISS, OSS, and the disciplinary alternative education placement, which is curious because that's how you saw a few years ago. Kids, top 10 kids, valedictorians were ending up at the alternative school because they were caught vaping. All right, so how do we pivot? And in your position here today, what do you do? Well, I think what you first need to do is look to the health leaders in your own district. And of course, I draw on the School Health Advisory Committee. That's a natural place for this. They're the ones who have the interest and have the ability to do a fairly comprehensive review of what your local code says, what your local policies are regarding the use and consequences for e-cigarettes. That's a great place to start because locally you have complete discretion to start this pivot, this essential pivot away from just punishment of students towards a more restorative, progressive condition where students learn and then they start talking to other students and say, hey, let's knock this off, let's quit, let's not engage in this activity anymore. So the Chapter 37 Texas Code is helpful, but it also doesn't present any roadblocks. Many of you know how policies are formed in school districts. It's not a big mystery. Most districts, they take a hold of what the Texas Association of School Boards puts out on a fairly regular basis. I don't know if it's monthly or every 6 weeks or so. And what they do is they look at all the legal policies that they are required to adopt, just lock, stock, and barrel. And then there's usually a handful of local policy recommendations that TASB puts forth. There are many, many districts that say, we only are going to play in that play box of the TASB recommended policies. Just understand this. Number one, that's not any kind of legal caveat that you have to do that. Boards are very interested at times in promoting and passing their own local policies. And number two, if you can't get your superintendent or your board in a position, which would be curious in this case, because this is a win for everyone. But if you can't get your board to move outside the TASB policy box, you can still do a heck of a lot of work on your administrative rules, on your codes of conducts, and on your professional development side of things. So there's a lot of room to operate in this situation. TASB vetted this policy that AHA has put together, and there's no red flags there. So rest assured, I mean, that is obviously a very genuine concern. Am I straying by adopting a policy that won't hold? TASB looked at it and they basically said you're good to go because of that fact that all discipline is at the local level. So I would encourage you listening to this webinar today to please consider, look at the toolkit, look at the model policy, and look at your own practices and take a leadership role in moving us away from just a strictly one-dimensional punishment model. It is not going to solve the problem. Here's another thing, and I'm acutely sensitive to this. Out of all of the things that we have going on right now in public education, where does this issue of vaping fall? Well, I understand masks, no masks, COVID, all of the things that have happened legislatively, the political environment. It is very difficult. However, we need leadership. And this is an easy piece of leadership to put into action by individuals who understand a little bit about this and want to make a difference in their district. And so actually the time is really good right now to do this. Why? Because It is about student health and wellness. And when we think about vaping, we think about just that physical act of breathing in and breathing out. But Dr. Willett spoke to it. It's mental health. You know, I keep digging as to why do these students vape? They're stressed, they're under pressure. They need to stay up until midnight to get whatever they need done. And they're turning to these substances for that quick hit. And yet they know at the end of the day, that's not really in their best interest and it's not healthy for them. So I get a little preachy about this, but I guarantee you, you can act locally and make a big, big difference in this arena. You don't need to be kind of boxed in by TASB policy recommendations and Chapter 37 Code of Conduct, you know, these kinds of things. You are empowered at the local level to make a difference here. And we need to see some districts step up and start moving this, because let's fast forward 10 years from now. Where will we be? You know where we'll be? We'll be where the leader districts take us in the next few years. That's where all districts will be, because it is self-evident that we've got to move this into the practice of helping these students and keeping them engaged educationally. So that's my piece. Back to you, Dr. Cavazos. Thank you, everyone.
So Dr. Lyon, you did not get preachy, so don't worry about that. You were passionate, and that's what it's going to take. It reminds me of several things as you were speaking. Remember when the tobacco industry spent so much money in marketing to get people to smoke cigarettes? It was a cool thing. And
Yep.
Here we are again, fighting the fight, a new frontier. But we were able to address it then, and we can do it again. And I think that your whole conversation about policy is not one size fits all. There's local control, local opportunities there, and I think that's important. It never works to push people to compliance and having kids, we're gonna force you to stop vaping. We gotta get them to commitment to drop the vaping. And so I appreciate your passion. And you talked about, well, we have to have model school districts that already, you know, walk that path. And actually, we have Kendra Estes that's going to speak to us from Hutto ISD. They were the first district in Texas to work with the AHA to adopt the model tobacco-free schools framework. Although Kendra was not able to join us live, this is so critical for her and her district that she recorded her comments and her passion to share with you today.
Hi, my name is Kendra Estes, and I'm the Director of Health and Safety for Hutto Independent School District. Today, I wanted to share with you a little bit about our journey in Hutto ISD as we work to change our tobacco policy, update our student code of conduct based off of that policy, and how we use the American Heart Association Tobacco-Free Schools Toolkit as a guide to make that policy change. I'm hopeful from sharing this information that you will see it's the right decision to make, an easy decision to make. And if I can share any barriers that we face and they can be removed out of your way, I hope today's information does that for you. So, you know, of course, in general, like all school districts, Hutto ISD was dedicated to preventing youth from using tobacco products at all, ever. But we know this is not a perfect world, and prevention doesn't always keep students from having access to tobacco products and then unfortunately becoming addicted to them. So we wanted to use this alternative to suspension program as a guide to let students who want to quit using tobacco products have access to the resources to do so instead of kicking them out of school. So when we were able to meet with the American Heart Association and heard about the toolkit and the program, I thought, wow, this is amazing. It makes sense. It's easy. Everything that we need is right here in this toolkit. So clearly there has to be a catch. Like something has to be up. There's got to be a database we maintain, or we have to sign up for 5 years worth of studies or something. But no, it was that simple. Everything that we needed was there for us. So I thought it would be a great program for our SHAC to evaluate. Our SHAC is made up, comprised of parents, nurses, community members, sometimes students, who are invested in the health and well-being of the staff and students of Hutto ISD. So we felt, when we wanted to have their blessing and recommendation go to the board for these policy changes. So that's where we started, and Catalina came and talked to our SHAC and answered all their questions. We were able to review the toolkit together, and that recommendation came from them. So since it was a policy change, it went to the board. And early in the spring, we went up and I presented the information, and I thought, this is going to be a home run. We're going to hit it out of the park. It'll be easy peasy, right? No, it got tabled. So with everything going on, our board did exactly what they're supposed to do. And they took the time to say, wait a minute, I didn't hear where you vetted this through the admin team. So we're going to make a policy recommendation that has implications for our student code of conduct. We have to do our due diligence and make sure that it's not going to be additional work on our admin team. So following that board meeting, myself and the chief of police for Hutto ISD, our associate superintendent of curriculum and instruction, or innovation, and a couple of our secondary principals met, and we were able to review the toolkit, review our current policy, our student code of conduct, and then talk about what our current practices are. And it was refreshing to see that, honestly, our admin team was already doing a version of this in practice, but we didn't have anything in policy to give the students the reassurance that if they were found to be in possession of tobacco products, that it wouldn't result in an automatic out-of-school suspension. So we all agreed that in order to say that we're fully committed to having an alternative suspension program, we have to put that in policy, and it has to be in black and white for students to be able to trust that, and for students to be able to trust that if they need help, they will get it. So we went back to the board, presented them with the information, with the seal of approval from our admin team and police department, and then the policy was adopted. So that was great, because I tell you, we really thought, honestly, as a SHAC committee, that we were doing our due diligence. Some of the things that we looked at when reviewing the toolkit is who would be impacted. Well, anything that it positively impacts the students of Hutto ISD, is something that I think we all can get behind. But we also wanted to know, what was the intended result? And for us, it was clear that the intended result was not to alleviate the students of any responsibility for breaking a rule. The intended result by making the policy change was to show them that we recognize you need help in this area. Yes, you did break the rule. However, if you want help, we want to help you, because the bigger problem isn't that you broke the rule. The bigger problem is the health implications that tobacco use has on you long term. And so if we can help you now by connecting you with the resources and making this more of a rehabilitative process, then great. We want to do that. We were looking closely at when we would roll this out with COVID. I mean, honestly, just even having a conversation about adding something different or changing anything, some folks wanted to shut down immediately. So we wanted to make sure that when we did it, it was timely and it was going to be well received. We also looked at why it was important. And like I touched on earlier, it's important to us because we were doing it in theory, but we wanted to have, something in black and white, something tangible for our parents and for our students to have access to, so that they knew we were true in what we were saying. that we are here to help them and get them connected with the resources that they needed. It was also important because our overarching goal is to make sure that our students don't become or don't continue to stay addicted to tobacco products. We are invested in their health and well-being in that manner. And what made it, I think, kind of eye-opening for everyone involved in, no matter where you are on the, as far as health education and knowledge or tobacco use or any of that, when it was presented, I think to me that was most eye-opening is when it was presented that if a student needs help with math, you tutor them. You don't kick them out of school. So if a student needs help getting access to resources to stop tobacco use, you don't kick them out of school, you give that to them. And so that's why it was important for us as a district to make sure that we had that in policy and our student code of conduct changed to reflect what we were trying to do. And that's help get students access to the resources they need so that they can have a healthy life. So after we went to the board, we got to put in policy. We really needed to get the remaining principals buy-in, and it helped. It was so far has been in the 6 weeks because we didn't get it back to the board until July. So in the 6 weeks, it's been extremely helpful to have a champion on my team. Our associate superintendent has a personal connection to wanting this policy change because unfortunately, he had a student who was expelled for being in possession of tobacco products. And, you know, hindsight's 2020, and it's something that he has a deep amount of regret about because the students otherwise, you know, didn't seem to be troublemakers or on a path that would have led to those same consequences. So he has been a champion, and being a leader in curriculum, it's easy for him to articulate to the principals why it's important and what strategies they can use to implement the policy. So that's been key to our success so far in the 6 weeks. The change this year is, I think, most important with some of our students coming back to in-person learning for the first time, because we're building trust with them. We're starting over. Some of these kids we haven't seen for 18 months. And when we introduce a policy that's connected with programs that they know, we are showing them that there's a deep connection there to evidence-based research, to the American Heart Association as a company and an organization that they know and trust. And I think it helps bridge that gap for them to know that what we're giving them really truly is evidence-based research, and it's trusted material from a trusted company. Because our hippos in Hippo Nation, they've been hippos for life. So they've done the, Kids Heart Challenge. They're seeing as we transition to, Hutto Goes Red, and they know this is a company that they can trust. These are, we are people that they can trust. And here is in black and white a policy that they can trust. But if they made this decision, this bad choice to start using tobacco products, that now they can trust us that we will make sure that we get them connected to the resources to help them stop. It's especially important, like I said, though, with coming back after 18 months, we unfortunately are beginning to see that while those kids weren't connected to the supportive resources that we offer on a daily basis, they have fallen victim to using tobacco products as a stress relief or something to pass time. They experimented in ways that they would not have had they been connected to those resources on a regular basis that COVID prevented them from being able to have during virtual learning. So it's important for us to make sure that we recognize our kids may have made decisions that they would not have otherwise made, and we are putting policies in place that are going to back them and support them and get them what they need. So if I could leave you with anything and all that, I just want to say that it took very little effort. Everything was lined out for us. The toolkit is amazing. It really does give you everything that you need. And if you can get people to understand, just as simply as it was explained to me, that, you know, if a student needs help, you don't kick them out of school, then it makes sense to do this. So again, I wish I could be available to answer your questions, you know, one-on-one in real time, but feel free to call me or email me. Again, my name is Kendra Estes. My email address is kendra.estes@huttoisd.net. I would be happy to walk you through what we've learned so far, what we're doing so far, and to touch base with you in the future to let you know how successful it's been. I hope that you have a great rest of your day, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Dr. Stone, I think you would agree that she did an incredible job. And although she pointed to her associate superintendent as being the champion, I would argue she was a champion. And you know, she kind of unpacked the whole process from A to Z. And I really appreciated how she brought in the administration, the SHAC, and all the different groups, because at the end of the day, it's about student wellness. And I think you would agree that running a school district is not one-dimensional. There are many things happening at the same time. And this is one of the important things that once we get past this pandemic, we're going to look back, and we don't want to have any regrets that we put this on the side burner and said we'll deal with it later, because it's coming at us pretty fast. And so I want the AHA to reach out to Kendra and thank her on our behalf. She did an incredible job. The AHA was with her at SHAC meetings and board meetings, and we want to take this journey with you. Those of you that are on the call, at the heart of this policy, change is helping students to quit. And the AHA has created, curated, and verified multiple free and low-cost resources to support prevention, cessation, and alternative to suspension programs, including the in-depth program by the American Lung Association. All of these resources will be found in materials we'll send and follow up after the call. However, I will say that somebody put in the chat, can you send me the link to the toolkit? And I'm glad that our team was on it right away. This is important work, and so I'm excited that people are taking it seriously. As mentioned previously, it is important that we never accept any gifts created or sponsored by the tobacco industry, including prevention and cessation curriculum. In addition to resources schools can use with students, peer-to-peer support is key to recovery. The American Heart Association is empowering teens and young adults to make a difference in the fight against vaping and other tobacco use. You know, kids will listen to kids. They might not listen to the adults, but they'll listen to their peers. The Tobacco in Game movement is a campaign of AHA's grassroots advocacy network called You're the Cure. The landing page is a platform that allows teens to share their story with their peers to inspire and support each other. Say What, short for Students, Adults, and Youth Working Hard Against Tobacco, is a statewide youth tobacco prevention movement in Texas. With funding and support from the Texas Department of State Health Services since 2011, the Texas School Safety Center at Texas State University has helped to create a network of youth and supportive adults across Texas to provide training, information, and resources to equip and empower Texas youth to live tobacco, nicotine, and vape-free lives, and to also educate their peers and communities about the dangers of all nicotine products. Once your policy is updated to reflect supportive disciplinary measures for tobacco and vaping violations, you'll be eligible to apply for a small stipend from the American Heart Association to support implementation. We'll still be there to support you during implementation. Remember, we want to take this journey with you. You'll want to ensure that students parents and faculty are aware of all the updates. AHA has signage to reinforce your tobacco-free campus status. It will be important that staff know not to involve resource officers in tobacco violations unless there are other extenuating circumstances. Designated staff should receive training on providing tobacco and vaping cessation support. This is a great way to utilize the stipend should you apply before the deadline of 12/31/21.
You know, Art, as a former administrator in the high school, I can clearly remember the days, that was quite a long time ago, but I can clearly remember the days where if a student had a package of cigarettes or a lighter, it was a matter of confiscating them and putting them in ISS, and then they come out and all of that. I too, when Susie was talking earlier, I was in Austin as well, doing, working alongside the PTA at the, several legislative sessions and working in partnership with the American Heart Association to try to impress upon our legislators about this important legislation that needed to be passed, and trying to convince them about how this industry was completely marketing to our children. And I can remember the moment when I had this mindset shift of, okay, just putting kids in ISS or suspending them or, you know, sending them away is not helping them. And I mean, it really literally was a mindset shift of me thinking, you know, if we love kids and our whole goal is to do everything we can to support them and to prepare them for success, this discipline strategy that we're employing for vaping is not helping them in any way. And so I came back from Austin to my staff and to my team, who many of them are on this Zoom call today, and we sat down and we talked about that from this mindset of helping kids. This is an addiction. They have been targeted by this industry. And if we truly believe that, which it is true, then we have to have empathy. We have to come from a place of empathy, not discipline, and one in which we can help kids to break the addiction, to potentially save their lives, but also to set them up for success for a healthy future. So I just remember, and I hope everyone will take that, what you heard earlier from several different speakers. And I know that Art and I have embraced this mindset shift. This is not about disciplining, but this is about helping, leading that with empathy, because we love kids and we need to do what's best for them. And just disciplining them in ISS is not going to break this habit or this cycle. It's not what's best for kids. So the American Heart Association, obviously you've heard from many of us who have a strong belief that the work that's being done is meaningful. We devote a lot of our time to serve on boards, and the mission of the American Heart Association is real, and it is all about helping. And so we're all a part of that. But in addition to the work that we do to create tobacco-free schools, the American Heart Association also prioritizes working with districts on cardiac emergency response plans, including CPR training, supplemental meal programs, and ensuring access to clean water. There's so many things the American Heart Association is doing for us and with us to help us to have healthy schools. And then finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't encourage you to work with the Heart Association on school-based programs for students in elementary school. We all know and love the American Heart Association Kids Heart Challenge. And if you haven't seen a preview of it lately, you should. Our teachers, our schools have embraced it. They love it. It's turned into something that they are all competing against one another of who can help to raise the most amount of money for what is a great cause, and that's the American Heart Association. And our district is very passionate about that. They have added elements for the whole child, such as social emotional learning and STEM. They have a campus-wide model for your campus teams that allows it to have a much larger impact. And then in our secondary schools, the American Heart Challenge is a student-led community service program which is hosted by your student leaders and encourages a peer-to-peer conversation around topics like tobacco and vaping, managing stress, self-care, coping skills, and improving nutrition. In our schools, we're having real conversations, and our students are very engaged because they want to talk about it and they need the help of adults to facilitate those conversations. We'd be happy to connect you with the team that supports these programs so that you can hear more from the experts. The American Heart Association team wants to take this journey with you. I think you've heard all of us who are already at the table because they are our partners. We don't, again, commit our time. We don't have time. Art and Jeremy, we don't have time to commit our time unless we have a true conviction that this is a purpose and a cause that's making a difference. The staff that you see on this slide here, they're our partners too. We love working with all of them, and they are ready to work with you to implement the model framework in support of your students, all of our students that we're all committed to. They can help with draft language, speak to your shacks, and attend your board meetings. They are great resources. Use them. They want to be there when you make these changes, and they celebrate every district that adopts a progressive, supportive approach for their students. In the chat box, you'll now find a link to a form where you can request more information about tobacco-free schools policy and all the other work American Heart Association can do with your schools. This policy is so important because policy is made so to communicate that this commitment starts with the school board, the leadership of the district, and all together. Policy is implemented across the district, and it's so important to look into this. Our job as school leaders is definitely difficult, and this has been a very challenging 18 months for all of us, but it's not impossible. Just as we did in decades before, we can once again overcome the greed that drives the tobacco industry to prey on our youth. Our students' lives don't have to be identified by a lifelong addiction. Everybody that you have seen and heard on this call today, we all are unified. The American Heart Association, the PTA, superintendents, educators who have already embraced this. We are all unified around a love of kids. And it's that passion that drives us to connect as partners to stop this industry from taking advantage and ultimately, potentially, the lives of our students that we love. Back to you, Art.
Hey, Dr. Stone, reminds me of a couple of things as you were speaking, and you're very passionate, and I love that about you. I will say that one thing or several things that the pandemic illuminated for us as school systems is that when it's all said and done, the community looks to the schools for guidance. And really, we are about, school community, and we're all about neighborhood schools. And so championing this work, where else should it start but in our school systems? And if we're going to turn the trajectory of this vaping, if we're going to reverse that trajectory, it's going to take us to step up. I will say that, the little people are waiting for the big people to get it right. And we're the big people right now. And it's our turn to step up and do what's right and begin to change this trajectory because we know what can happen. Although the pandemic has been tough and it's really been exhausting, and you wonder how much more can we take and so forth. I think it's important that we look for the opportunities and things that the pandemic illuminated, and that is we are highly dependent on school systems and public school systems to do the important work. And so it's time to stand up again.
One of the things one thing I want to say about that is just to make sure that everybody hears this. Most parents think that it's better for their kids to be vaping than those smelly pack of cigarettes that are going to smell up their house or their car or their clothes. But and the part of what we've done, Art, we've all done, is try to educate our parents. The PTA is educating parents. No. This is, we're talking chemicals
Right.
here. We're talking chemicals. And so parents want to be involved, and when they are informed of this, they're thankful to the school districts that we care enough about their kids to provide them with this information. Because again, parents think, oh, they're not as harmful, it's cotton candy. No, these are things that can take the lives of our kids.
And I think knowledge is power, and people need to be educated on how critical this issue is and how harming it can be to kids. We're going to send everybody follow-up materials, including the slides, recording, and toolkit to all who register. If you filled out the interest form in the chat box, you're going to hear from an AHA representative in the coming days. When we hang up, we encourage you to review your student code of conduct to see where you can make improvements right away. Remember, the AHA wants to walk alongside you on this journey. Please use us as a resource so we can fulfill our mission to create a world of longer, healthier lives. On behalf of the American Heart Association, myself, Dr. Stone, and all of our speakers, thank you for coming today. Please join us in the fight to make our schools 100% tobacco-free. Together, we can make Texas a healthier place for our youth. It's their turn, and it's our responsibility. Thank you, take care, and God bless each of you.
Sunshiny day.